It is a beautiful day here in Austin, Texas. My name is Karissa Kouchis. I go by KK. I'm a national speaker for Tony Robbins, and I'm here with you today to talk about mindset. We're going to have a little conversation. I'm sitting next to somebody amazing. His name's Brian. And Brian, why don't you jump right in really quick? Just tell us your name, a little bit about you, what you do.
Sure. So my name is Brian Whitten. I run a fund here in Austin, Texas called Hornet Capital. We are a real estate fund. We focus on anything from rentals to hard money loans to fix and flip properties, anything that we can do here to help inspire investors in Austin, whether it's from the lending side or from the side where they're actually developing properties or subdivisions and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. I was not aware that you have such an expansive, tool chest of ability with that. So that's really cool. And what my side of or area of expertise would be is mindset. So with Tony Robbins, we talk a lot about mindset, belief system. Basically, where are you? Where do you want to go? And how do we close that gap to get you there better, quicker, faster, stronger? So I think what would be cool for us, Brian, is to blend these two worlds. Obviously, and would you agree, your mindset is pretty crucial when you think of real estate.
Absolutely. I think one of the harder things for someone getting into real estate is getting over the initial education hump.
And what's interesting is when I train and travel, so I'm on the road 354 days a year for Tony, and I'm working with over 3,000 agents a month. So when I get into training with an agent, whether it's like a Keller Williams or a Coldwell Banker, like you name it, I've probably been into it. I see a variety of agents that are like half in real estate and half in their full-time job. And at that point, they're very conflicted. Like, do I jump full-time in? It's scary. There's a lot of fear. What would you say to someone in that position?
Just like you said, they're half in, right? So what I see a lot of time is people will jump in and they'll say, I want to learn about this. So they'll go to a couple small classes or networking groups and they'll learn a couple things and they'll do some online studying and stuff like that. But they never really make the full commitment to say, this is what I want to do with my life, or
Totally.
I want to make this my majority of my income is instead of being a W-2 job. So that's definitely, half of it, the battle is getting over that mindset and saying, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, Tony says it all the time. On our team, when we go do a training, we talk about the 80-20 principle. And it's like there's 80% of successful people in the world, and then, or 20% successful, then you got the bottom 80. But when you look at those numbers, 80% of your success in any business, and especially real estate, is your psychology and your mindset. And then 20% of it is mechanics. And I don't know if you would agree with me with the people that you know, but a lot of the people I communicate with that are at that decision line, like half in, half out, they're really focused on the 20% mechanics. I don't have enough years of experience. I don't have the knowledge. I've never invested before. I need to take 50 classes before I think I'm at the caliber where I can leave my full-time job. We're so focused on mechanics, and that's why for us, we put such an emphasis on training the psychology and the mindset, because if you have the mindset, for my opinion, disagree with me if you so choose, if you have the mindset, you can do anything.
Correct. I mean, once you have the mindset that you're ready to jump in and do all that stuff, there's plenty of mentors and consultants and everyone to take care of you from day to day. You got to create your power team is what you really need to do. But until you are ready to jump in and go find those contacts, you're just going to be sitting on the sideline educating on the small mechanics of it.
Yeah, and remind me, before Hornet Capital, nice plug, you were in the Navy, right?
Correct.
And at what point did you start getting into real estate?
So for me, I got into real estate back when I was actually leaving the Naval Academy. An instructor pulled me aside, and it was just something he briefly said to me, but what he told me was, hey, you're not going to get rich being a Navy retiree 20 years from now. You'll enjoy your life, but you're not going to be wealthy. He goes, but, if you go somewhere and, every place they move you, you just go ahead and buy a house, and when you leave, the Navy moves you, which they're going to do several dozen times. Just go ahead and rent that property out, and then once you're all done with everything, go ahead and sell them all, collect your Navy retirement, buy your dream house with cash, and now you know wealth. And so that's what I started doing. I started going around the country, wherever I was moving, I would buy a house and then rent it out when I left. And so that's what really intrigued me about getting into real estate. And then I just started focusing on different things after I made the mindset and started doing it. I started educating myself. Okay, what are all these line items on the HUD and stuff like that? And so that's when I really started to learn, is after I made the mindset and started jumping into it.
I heard you say the word wealth. If you could think of the way you defined wealth before that mentor explained that to you and the way you define it now, what would be the differences?
Wealth for me at the beginning was all about money. Wealth for me now is how I live my lifestyle. And so if I have the time and the energy to go play with my kids and I don't have to worry about paying bills and stuff like that, that's what wealth is to me.
That's awesome to hear. I think that's probably where we connect in this whole sphere of life. We're in very different industries, but that middle ground is sort of the freedom and the ability and the wealth, the true wealth, to do the things that we want to do with the energy that we have. Like, that's pretty much, there's the slogan for Tony Robbins. I think you pretty much summed it up. But is there, from this side of the chair, like, what questions would you have perhaps about Tony or any of the curriculum there?
I'd say the biggest questions I would personally have in doing an event like that is, how specific is it going to be to me for me to take the next level?
Totally.
I mean, I've been living in real estate for the past, dozen years of my life. What's he going to be able to tell me to make me see a bigger picture than I already see?
Awesome. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
At this point in your life, which I already know the answer because I cheated and we already talked in the kitchen, is there another level for you?
I'm hoping so.
Is there potential that you have yet tapped into?
I have a very big vision of what I want to do next.
Okay, cool. Just another plug, Hornet Capital. Now, let me ask you this question, and those of you watching, you can think of this answer for yourself. Have you ever known what to do in your life to get to that next level, to like that vision, the thing you're thinking of in your head right now? You know some things you could do right now, but sometimes we just don't take the action.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay, so for you specifically, and if you're watching, do this on your own. Just stay out of this. When you think about knowing what to do and not doing it, and maybe before when you were in the Navy, maybe we waited because we were the fear that we talked about, the mindset. At this point in your life, what would be a few things that hold you back now from tapping into the next level?
I think the hardest thing for me right now would be messing up what I currently have and jeopardizing that by trying to grow too much or too fast or trying something and failing.
Got it. So I heard a little bit of fear, like some fear of failure there.
Yeah.
Fear of change, some uncertainty.
Correct.
So these are all some things, and then a little bit of that is decision making, because it's hard to make the decision with this right now because of all those other factors.
Yes.
So those are 4 things. If I heard you right, are those correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we've got a few things going on there that are holding us back from taking the action to get to this big, grandiose vision that we have. Plug number 5. Now, when we think of those things, like just those things, the fear of change, uncertainty, fear of failure, the just decision making, being a little tentative with it, just because of the true risk that's there. If you were to just take those things, what do those things have in your life, like that fear? What are those things costing you right now?
It's costing me the ability to grow beyond what I am right now.
And what does that actually cost? Like, let's say in this chair right now, Brian, crushing life, you've got your company. Let's say nothing changes at all for the next 5 years. Let's say I come back 5 years later and you are exactly the way you are. We're sitting in this exact same couch. The business is the exact same place. Revenue, profit, exact same. Amount of investment properties, exact same. Current life situation, nothing changes.
I'd be extremely disappointed with myself.
Why?
Because I didn't grow and become what I think I can be.
Okay. And then the reason that we weren't there were because of some of the reasons, like what?
The fear of growing.
So your question earlier was, what would be specific to you? Now, at Tony's events, you have people coming in from 74 different countries. Like I heard Dallas, Texas is like hot as heck in July. 74 countries flying in to be friggin' sweating their you know what off. I'm not going to say it on TV, but they're all flying in for this. So what's specific? The thing that is specific is that in 5 years from now, if we all stayed the exact same and did not deal with any limitation that we all have. Everyone's got some type of limitation. Like you're crushing life right now, but you still got something there. The specific thing for you is going through the work, and Tony has designed the program so that you can figure out what those things are, the fear of change, the decision making, the uncertainty, whatever those things are, and take care of them now so that in 5 years from now, we don't look back and say, I took a nice little trip to where?
Dallas.
Or nowhere if we don't do anything about them. So that's the specifics. Now, my question for you is, let's say all those, 5 things, fear of change, whatnot. Let's say you did just like destroy them. You like crushed them. We get up out of this chair, your shoulders are like all the way back. You're like Hornet capital, let's go, plug number 6. And you just like all that stuff, you have zero fear, zero hesitation. What would life look like in 5 years then?
I mean, hopefully the business will be on autopilot, and I can worry about growing a business based off a vision instead of working in the mechanics of it.
100%. And what would life look like with the family? You said you have family. How many kids do you have?
2 kids.
2 kids. Wife. Great. What are their names?
Kip and Clay.
Kip and Clay. Brooke. So what would that look like? What would the family dynamic look like?
We'd probably be living on the lake, a little bit closer to the lake, which would be nice.
Cool. And you'd have more
time on my hands to spend with my boys.
Cool.
My wife.
Awesome. And when you were there, and I heard you say earlier, you don't want to be spending time with the family worrying about bills.
Correct.
So at that point, if Hornet Capital grows the way you envision it, do you see that ability to have more time as a true possibility?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what would you say are a few things that are getting in the way of you having that now?
The fear of growing to become that.
Solid. Thanks for that. So the cool thing about this conversation right now is like there are probably millions of listeners watching this show, because you probably have millions of people tuning in right now who feel the same way. And like we're one of the same. I have the exact same things that pop into my head. I'm just blessed to work for the #1 success coach on the planet. So I have to take care of these things every 3 months when I go to Unleash the Power Within. And I have new things to take care of every time. But the cool thing is, like, as a human being, we have those always. The #1 question I get is like, when is enough enough? Like you get to it, like at one point you were in the Navy and then you were investing. And it's like, yes, I'm investing, I'm doing everything. But then you want more. And then you want more. So like, in your opinion, when is enough enough?
When I'm laying in my deathbed, that'll be enough.
No,
I always want to grow.
Yeah, growing and progress, I feel like, are so essential to human operation. Like if you don't have growth and you don't have progress, it's hard to be fulfilled. Because we get in this thing called it's a zone. You know what zone I'm talking about?
Comfort zone.
Comfort zone. Like, have you ever lived in the comfort zone?
I've lived in a danger zone.
You've lived in the danger zone.
See that Top Gun plug right there?